Welcome to the Diversity and Inclusion Identity Work Session 3. I'm Professor Nasima Carrim, and I'm going to be presenting the Diversity Management element, Chapters 6 and 10. So this forms part of Religion and Diversity Management in the South African context. So let's look at Chapter 6 from the prescribed textbook, Managing Diversity in the South African Workplace, which is edited by Dr. Leon Moelman from the University, Northwest University, and myself. So Chapter 6 deals with religion and diversity management in the Southern African context. So the learning outcomes are to offer a definition of religion and highlight some of the characteristics of religion, orientation of faith orientation, differentiate between religion and spirituality, explain the importance of the religious and religion in all spheres of life, including working life, show some understanding of the different ways in which religion relates to and is important in the world of work, show an understanding of why religion and religious outlooks are important to Southern Africans, outline some theories of diversity management that have a particular bearing upon faith and the world of work, offer some suggestions, insights, and guidance for managing religious diversity in the world of work. So when we look at the definition of religion in the academic literature, religion is mostly defined as beliefs, rituals, and practices that are associated with the transcendent or the divine. Now, according to the Oxford English Dictionary, transcendent simply means that it is beyond, above the range of normal or physical human experience. That means it is a deity that we cannot feel, touch, or even hear. It is beyond our comprehension and our understanding. So religion could thus be organizational. It's a formal or historical religious tradition with sacred texts, buildings, officials, and so on. Or it is non-organizational, belief, norms, practices, expectations, commitments, and data, and experiences are different. Then you got religions facilitate a connection between what we experience in this world and beliefs or faith associated with other worlds. So then if you look at the relationship between this world and other worlds, it is often structured according to certain beliefs in that. They take the form of both doctrines, what is true, and ethics, what is right. So ethics, what is right and what is true, are very important in this context. And that's why people structure their lives in this world according to what they believe to be true and right in accordance with their beliefs. So if you're following a certain faith and you have a certain belief in that, you will subscribe to that way of doing things. In certain religions, living faithfully according to the doctrine and ethics of the religion will enable you to be blessed in this world and the year after and a world beyond this physical world, and it will also you will also be protected and favored. Or alternatively, if you are leading a bad life, then you will be harmed or punished, and you could also be cursed. And that is some of the beliefs of certain religions. Then the benefits or hindrances of religious faithfulness could relate to this world or the other world. So it could be that you will benefit both in this world and in the next world, or you could benefit in this world, but in the next world you might not exist. It depends which religious orientation you come from. So, for example, some people believe that if they live their lives faithfully and carefully, they will have eternal life, they will go to heaven, and if they die, then whatever good deeds they did in this world will be carried forward after they leave this world. So, for example, certain Christians, Muslims, and Jewish religious groups believe in this. Then other faiths, they believe that if you adhere properly to your religious doctrines in that, then it will secure a better life. For example, certain religions, African religions in that, and some Japanese traditions, some Buddhist traditions also believe in that, and some traditions who term it the kingdom life. And then there are people who might not adhere to a particular religion. They call themselves more spiritual people. They practice a form of spirituality like breathing, yoga, exercises, the awakening of gratitude. They are always grateful, for all the good that's happening in their life. And they also subscribe more towards nature. And these are just few examples of how people focus on spirituality. But if you look at the religion of Islam, for example, there are certain doctrines we believe in, but then there's also a spiritual life and your spirituality, and that's important in the way Muslims pray in that. So spirituality as well as adhering to religious doctrines are very important to Muslims. And then others believe in the transmigratory nature of religious adherence or deviance, and the possibility of living multiple lives on earth. For example, Hindus believe that if you're a good person and you die as a good person in that, then you will be reincarnated in a form of a pleasant creature. For example, they believe if you're a good person, you can come back in the form of a bird, which is something that is pleasant to look at. So then when you look at spirituality and that, while religions focus on doctrines and that and worship, spirituality tends to be less homogeneous. So the term spirituality is not necessarily connected with a specific religious community or historical religion. Rather, people focus on spirituality and spiritual practices to enable them to experience a sacred dimension of their daily lives. So, spirituality does entail some beliefs, such as the existence of a spiritual dimension to reality, and spiritual beings such as angels and devils, and that. And then also, it's a connection between what you do daily and your spiritual dimensions, which is a prayer, meditation, and spiritual consciousness. So, this is an example that I gave you about Muslims. They pray on a 5-time basis, daily 5-time basis, and so there is a spirituality that is part of their nature as well and part of their religious doctrines. Then you look at the major dimensions of religion. So there is a transcendent belief that I've already explained to you. It is a belief of the unseen in that, of a spiritual deity, of angels and devils and ancestors in that. Then your religious motivation, you got to be motivated to believe in a certain thing, and certain actions as well will either bring you good in this world, and if you don't follow those doctrines and you don't and you live a life that is full of sin and crime in that, then obviously you will be punished. Then you have organizational religious activities, where you participate in worship. For example, you go to the church or the mosque or the synagogue, and then there's also symbols such as a cross, or Muslim women wearing the hijab in that. So there's different forms in which you manifest your religious beliefs in that. Then you have your non-organizational religious activities, your personal prayers, where you can pray for women, Muslim women who pray at home, and then you also fast in that, you do charity work in that. So that is things that you do for yourself and personally for yourself. If you're a spiritual person, you might meditate on your own in that, and it's not something that for other people to see. Then your attachment to God, and that is also forms part of your spirituality, and that as well as your religious doctrines. And you take certain actions in it in your life because you know that you are accountable to God. And if you don't take those certain actions in it, then there will be negative consequences. And then you also have this trust in God that whatever you do, it will be because God will see you through your difficulties and your good times as well. So you find that strength and encouragement in that, in the belief that you have your trust, you put your full faith in God. Then you have your religious experiences. This relates to encounters with the divine or the supernatural, where you can contact with transcendent beings. You have visions or experiences of divine provision or interventions in that. And then you have your religious coping, where you meditate, you pray for guidance, to find peace, to find sometimes solutions to your problems in that. So then you have certain religious texts, like the Christians have the Bible, the Muslims have the Quran, and you tend to coming to you would prefer to have contact with people who follow your religious doctrines in it. When you go to the mosque, for example, you come across people who have your religious faith in it, and it makes it easier than to talk to people who are like-minded to you. And then religious maturity focuses on a deep sense of trust in what you believe in, and also you tend to experience extensive religious practices, where you practice your religion and also your traditions, your rituals, and you read through your sacred texts and that. Then you have history of extended exposure to religion, and this history is based on your family, what your family practices, what's practiced in your community, and you tend to obviously in certain faiths and that children are also inculcated and socialized to follow a religious belief in that, and they start off at a young age. Then let's look at the South African law and religion. So the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, focuses on giving everybody the right of freedom to religious thoughts, and they do not stop people from practicing culture or religious beliefs in that. And the Bill of Rights says also that every community should enjoy their culture and practice their religion, and then to also form and join and maintain cultural, religious, and linguistic associations and other organizations of civil society. From the above, you can be seen that South Africa is not a secular country. So let's look at the different diversity management theories. The sociological perspective, this relies on learned behaviors, rules, and structures which are created to sustain power. Then you look at the psychological perspective. This deals with your psyche in that, where we grow up and we are forced to suppress certain elements of ourselves. But you see, when it comes to psychological coping in that, you find that people tend to also change their religious beliefs at a certain point in their lives, when they are searching for something that has a deeper meaning. Then the spiritual perspective also stems from your separation from God, or it's people who talk about their purpose in life in that. So it can be a belief in God, but also at the same time, it's something that comes from within an individual. It stems from the values and what that person believes is their purpose in life. Then when we develop religious diversity, transparency and clarity is very important within the workplace, and then people should also have the freedom and respect and dignity within the workplace to practice their religious beliefs. And it's important that people should be informed of people's religious beliefs as well. So if you don't, if Muslims come into the workplace and they only eat halal food and that, people should be informed to actually buy them halal food during social functions and that, and so that it doesn't place that person in a difficult situation when there are social functions. They can also partake freely in eating the food and socializing with people, and in this way it will create an understanding of religious beliefs in that. And people should also be sensitive to other cultures in it and create this self-awareness, and also allow the space for diversity of ideas and practices. So some organizations, what they do is that they dedicate certain boardrooms or offices that are vacant and that for people to do their prayers and meditate. So a workplace should also seek to be flexible and supportive. Then flexibility with work patterns and schedules, we see this as well, where Muslims, especially the males, are allowed to take off longer on Fridays and that, and they work in uh, their time during the weekdays. And then even when it comes to recruitment practices and that, and when a woman with a hijab comes for a job interview and that, she should not be discriminated against because she's wearing the hijab. So there should be a, a religious data collection as well, where people from different faiths and spiritualities in it should be able to express whether they are fairly and equally treated within the organization. And in this way, it will also facilitate positive intergroup contact. So then now that's the end of spirituality and religion. Let's look at the next chapter. This one is chapter 10, Managing Diversity in South Africa, the Policies, Plan and Strategy. So basically the policy, when we look at the left-hand side block, is policy elements. What does the organization want to achieve with the policy? So when we develop diversity policies, we need to ask certain questions. What is it that the organization wants to achieve with this policy? And obviously it will always include inclusivity of all individuals. And why does this organization want to achieve this, and how does the organization intend to achieve this? So these are the certain questions that we ask when we focus on policy. Then there are external factors, the composition of the labor market in which the organization operates. So obviously the requirements for the banking industry might be different to the ones, for example, from a IT organization. And also pressure from external stakeholders we need to focus on. Trade unions and the communities. What do the trade unions say? Is this particular organization, does it have a trade union in that? And then what are your legislative requirements as well? Then strategy aspects, your mission and vision of the organization, employment equity opportunities and legislation, training and development and business strategy of the organization. We need to look at the strategic elements of the organization, in which this particular organization operates, the sector in which it operates. What is the vision and mission of the organization? Then what are the required outcomes? What is the outcomes that you expect from developing policies and that, and taking all these factors into account? So all employees should be treated equally in the organization, and there should be equality in the employment relationship in the organization. So nobody should feel excluded or discriminated against, and management and the policy should develop that acceptance and understanding of differences between people, and they should inculcate respect of the differences between employees, and all employees, all their skills should be harnessed together to contribute to the end result, which is profits for the organization and the sustainability of their particular organization. So this brings the end to chapters 6 and 10, and thank you for listening in on this presentation, and all the best with the rest of the course. Thank you.